In this video now, I'm going to hopefully be able to stay in frame. I'm going to work on releasing the glutes. All right, we're going to work on glute max, around into glute min and med, which are in the side of the hip. So this is how we release out a lot of our hip extensors and the muscles that move our legs sideways, the hip abductors. All right, so what we do is we start sitting on our foam roller. You can see him down here. All right, we sit on that foam roller, put the weight a little bit more into the side that we want to work on. So to do this one, the best way I find is to cross that leg. What I can do then is lean towards the side I want to work on. You think the tailbone down the back of your butt there, I work down the edge of that bone first. So a nice roll, just seeing if there's any real tight or tender spots down through there. I'm feeling pretty good through there today, so I won't have to stop there. What I'm going to do is work a little bit more towards my side. Oh, here's the tight stuff. And work just a little bit wider. Anyone that comes into my clinic will know the joke that I make at that point when I find some tension in the glutes. Say it to yourself or giggle. I'm not going to say it on video. So, I found that nice tight spot in the glutes there, just by rolling around further, just looking for that tension. And I'd say that's piriformis on me that's tight there, after a bit of hockey last night. So what I'm going to do here, keep leaning, keep the weight into that area, and to get a little bit of the pin and stretch, all right, I can just move that leg up and down. Okay, a little bit of active release now on that tissue. Lifting up and down with the leg, just shift slightly if it feels like it eases off. All right, and remember I did do the longitudinal, looking up and down the tissue, and side to side to really narrow that point down. So that was my tight spot there. If it's a nice big band of tightness, I can just slightly roll along that tightness as I go. All right, that's a nice way to get that work done. Or I can put the foot down here and turn the knee in and out. That's another way that I can release out through the side of that hip. Now, the glute's not on as much length there, so you don't get quite as deeply into it. All right, once you've had a good look through the back of the glute and found any tense areas and worked them out, then we could start to work between greater trochanter, which is the point of the hip, and the iliac crest, which is the bone that runs around the top of your hip. That's the zone we want to stay in now. I'm going to work from the back, and I'm going to end up flipping all the way over onto my belly here. So I'm going to work through the back of the glute. So there's the iliac crest, the top of my hip, down to the point of the hip on the side. I'm just looking through that area for any real points of tension. If I find any towards the back, then it's that leg in and out that's going to help you to release that. Or we can even lift the knee up towards the chest and get some flexion extension in there. Or I can roll further out towards the side of the hip. I'm going to work around the side of the hip here, looking for any points that are particularly tender. I'm actually tight just below the iliac crest, that ridge of bone across the top of the hip. So if you see, I'm just going to, it's very hard to move and get an effect that high up. So all I'm going to do is roll back and forth along that tension to help release it. If it was really tight, I can just do a little bit of grinding work through there, sliding back and forth, just to try and release that tissue a little bit more. Okay, if you did find moving the leg around through flexion and extension, or through lifting the leg up really got stuck into it, great, I'm just not feeling much in there. Then what I'm going to do is roll all the way around. In the quad video, I showed you how to start your quads by working just below SWSAS, the point of your hip. Now we want to try and get into your pocket. That's the area where you've got a nasty muscle called TFL, tensor fasciae latae. It's really a tight muscle if you've got tight hip flexors, if you sit a lot, or if you pronate and your legs drop in and you've got a nice arched lower back. So what we're going to do to get in there is roll around into that spot, find the tension in there. So if I've got SWSAS straight down now, just rolling back out so I am in that pocket, and just rolling just slightly down through the front of the thigh to see if we can find a tense spot. And I can't believe it, mine doesn't feel too bad today. A little bit of tension there. And what I can do is a nice hip flexion and extension again to release that out. So this is our pin and stretch, or I can turn the leg in and out. Beautiful. Or we can just sit on it and let it release for 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, that's your choices, but I can go all the way from there in the front of the hip, looking around through the outside of the hip, rolling around until I'm in a seated position here and releasing the back of the glute. And to tell you the truth, the back of the glute's a lot worse than the front of the glutes today. If your roller's not getting in there deep enough, that's where we can get the ball, get stuck into the back of the glute with the ball and really release it. Magic. My foam roller turned into a massage ball. Love it when these things happen. So what I can do is get that in there, in the back of that glute, and really get stuck into release there. It's smaller, it's got less surface area, so it's gonna get deeper into that glute tissue. All right, so there, I've got a really, it is piriformis, so I can actually trace the whole length of that muscle. And again, same way as we we're gonna do before, I can either flex and extend, I can take the leg in and out, I can roll it in and out here, okay, or I can really try and turn that leg, that foot either direction, just to help to release that out. And honestly here, the flexion extension is getting in there well enough. All right, so that's how I can release it with the ball. You can use the ball anywhere. It can be around the side of the hip, into the front of the, into TFL. You can use it on the quads and the adductors, anywhere that we've used the foam roller. It works really well. It just gets in there a little bit more targeted. It doesn't have as much resistance as the foam roller, so when your whole body weight's on it, the foam roller is better. It doesn't squash as much. It's great to find these areas. If they don't release with the foam roller, you can get stuck into them with these. Don't use a massage ball for trigger point work before you exercise. Please use it afterwards, okay? Might leave you a little bit tender. All right, next video, I will show you a few more tips on the foam roller,